Well, welcome to the Aging Boomers. I'm your host, Frank Samson, and on the show we discuss many of the issues facing boomers and an aging population today. So thanks for joining us on our fourth show. Many more to come. I wanted to talk today. Normally we have a guest on, an expert in the field, but I'd like to talk to you about a subject that's near and dear to my heart, and that's assisted living. It shows, and it's quite. People know that the majority of seniors want to live at home, and they want to live at home the rest of their lives. But the fact is, and I think that all of us must realize that not everybody's going to be able to live safely at home. We'll get into those reasons in a minute, but here's a statistic that I think everybody needs to know. It's a real eye-opener, and it was put up by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, saying that about 70% of individuals over the age of 65 will require at least some type of long-term care services during their lifetime. Some are calling this the silver tsunami, and you might laugh at that, but it's serious stuff. And as I mentioned before, there are reasons that people would not be able to stay home. One is cost, and we're going to go over costs in a moment. But if somebody needs a number of needs full-time care, or even just care during the day when their adult children are working, it could get pretty pricey. The other thing to know is Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's or another form of dementia is becoming very difficult on families to provide care. As much as someone wants to, return the favor, saying, well, my parents raised me and took care of me and changed my diapers, and now they have dementia, I'm going to do the same. It's a little bit easier said than done, and you really need, it could be pretty tough on a family. So that's another reason why someone may not be able to stay at home. And so I do want to get into some of this. Let's first understand assisted living. Assisted living is, I would say, from a care standpoint, maybe one step below nursing. Not care as much as the type of care. Nursing homes are more of a medical model and take care of people who, could be after surgery, and they're going in for rehabilitation, could be after a broken hip or some other type of surgery. Also could be someone who has tubes and feeding tubes, and that's a medical model, either being in the hospital or a nursing home. Assisted living is very, very similar to if someone were to come into the house and help with what we call activities of daily living, whether they be assistance with transferring someone, if they're using a walker and they just need help getting over to the walker, if there are some incontinence, obviously taking care of the basic needs, getting dressed, getting ready in the morning, bathing, etc. That's what assisted living does, and they all, have their area of specialty. A lot of people don't realize that assisted living, at least licensed assisted living, hasn't been around that long. It wasn't until the 90s that licensed assisted living started, and out on in the western states, and everything started heading east. And there are in the vicinity, as far as this is a report by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, found 31,100 assisted living facilities with almost 972,000 beds. And in comparison, and this is, a few years old, the statistics, 2009, the number of Medicare and Medicaid nursing facilities was 15,658. Number of beds was 1.7 million. The reason number of beds so much larger than assisted living is that assisted living, there's a lot of different types of locations. I don't like to call them facilities because, to me, a facility is more of a hospital medical setting. So according to the survey that Health and Human Services did, about half of the assisted living facilities were small locations, between 4 and 10 beds. The rest were 11 to 25 beds, 16%. And then it would go all the way up to, 100 plus beds. About 38% were chain affiliated. There's no one company that has a majority of the assisted living. It's a combination of privately owned and nonprofit locations throughout the country. And, I think it's just important to know this just based on the statistics I just told you, is that, as much as mom and dad say, I want to live at home, I'm not moving anywhere, I want to be here, whether it's, again, the family dynamics, dementia, cost, may have a lot to do with them not being able to live at home. Of course, we all know families are spread out much more today. Many times the adult children are not even in driving distance to their parents. So that makes it more of a challenge as well. Let's talk about Alzheimer's. As much, there was a day that we used to, years ago, I remember, my grandfather had cancer and no one wanted to really bring it up, as the C word. And I think that it's very similar today. Hopefully it's changing, where people don't want to talk that so-and-so has Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. Alzheimer's is a form of dementia, and it's the one that's most common, but there are a lot of other types of dementia. Let me share some actual statistics with you, and this is the percentage change in selected causes of death, all ages, between 2000 and 2010. And even though we would like to have 0 deaths with some of these other diseases, they have gone down. We've made a lot of progress. So breast cancer was down 2%, prostate cancer down 8%. And again, this is people dying from it. Heart disease down 16%, stroke down 23%. Lots of strides made with HIV. That was down 42%. Alzheimer's disease up 68%. So, as we age, and even, younger people, even, in their 60s, we're finding that is becoming more prevalent. Why? We don't know the answer. A lot of people say it's in our food. It's all sorts of other things, and that's not really the purpose of this particular show. And but it's making people aware that they need to have these discussions with their parents. Should something happen, should it become too difficult or too expensive for a family to take care of their loved ones, that what options there are out there. And there are options. Let's take a look at some costs. All right, a lot of people don't, they realize, here's the other thing that's real important. A lot of people say, insurance takes care of it. You know what? Normally not. Long-term care is covered by most long-term care insurance policies. But I would say, last I looked, 7 to 8% have it. So a very small number of people do. And most of the people that do are, in the boomer generation taking it out now. So Medicare, as we know, a lot of people say, well, Medicare takes care of it. Well, no, Medicare is basically health insurance for seniors. And that does not take care of long-term care. All right? It's obviously it will take care of similar types of things like other health insurance does. But if somebody has to be needs supervision or care for a long period of time, it's not going to cover that. And then you could say, well, what about Medicaid? In California, here we call it Medi-Cal. Well, there's, again, we could do a few shows on that subject matter, which we will in the future. But generally speaking, no, it doesn't cover it. It varies state to state. It varies on the type of location. Sometimes it's just an allotment. It just, kind of depends state by state. But let's talk about some averages. If someone needed help at home, how much could we be talking about? And again, there's a wide range from state to state. I would say, a statistic here from Genworth shows that if somebody about 40 hours a week, and you were to have somebody coming in, let's say 9 to 5 approximately, Monday through Friday, again, while the adult children are at work, could be in the vicinity of about $43,000, $44,000 a year. If you needed nursing care, it would be quite a bit higher than that. And again, that's part-time. So as you could see, it could get pretty expensive. If someone needed 24-hour care at home, you could be talking $10,000 or more a month. And some of you are probably out there going, no way. Well, it's true. Assisted living, even though certainly not inexpensive, if someone needs really supervision or assistance on a 24-hour basis, or at least have access to people on a 24-hour basis right in the same location, you're talking on average, again, about $42,000 a year. These are national averages. Obviously, in California and other states, it's going to be higher. Some other states, it could be lower, but we're just using some averages to give you an idea. So, you wonder, well, how am I going to, afford to pay for this? But so it does take a lot of planning, and certainly a lot of discussion, with the family members. But if you're, confronted with this situation, most people don't know where to turn. They've never dealt with it before, and that's what I say. This is kind of near and dear to my heart, because I've been involved in assisted living since I got into the senior care business. And there's some things that you just need to know. All right, and so let me give you some thoughts here. There are companies out there that are set up just to help people who are confronted with the situation. Similar to if you were going to go purchase a house, you're going to probably go to a real estate agent. If you're going to get a mortgage on a house, you're going to go to your bank mortgage broker. And something that is really spreading like wildfire across the country are what we call senior placement agencies. Senior placement agencies work with families to help them find the best location for them to live in and get the proper care. That's the bottom line. But because this industry is not regulated, all right, anytime you have something new and it's a hot type of a business, you of course do attract people who may not be doing things as ethical, may not be providing the type of service that that many of us would expect. So just a little warning, make sure that you work with an organization that has people local in your area. You could go on Google and do a search and find companies, but there are a lot of companies online that do it similar to, it's like saying Expedia is a travel agency, which they are. They're an online travel agency, but you're dealing a lot with more commoditized products, booking an airline ticket or a hotel or car. Here you're dealing with people's lives, and this is not a commoditized product, but there are organizations online that are kind of treating it as such. Not that you can't talk to anybody, but you might be talking to someone in a call center that has name and description of the place and some information, but they've never seen it. They may not have checked out their background of that particular assisted living facility to see if they've had citations. These are licensed locations by each state, so there's statistics out there on them. So it's important that if you're going to be having a loved one live there and get care, you want to know everything about them. So again, even though some people go online and look, there's nothing wrong with that. My company, Senior Care Authority, we attract people online, but then we put them in touch with a local agency in their market. So just be careful when you're doing that. And again, it's not that these companies online are trying to perform anything to rip you off. It's just that their agents may not be as knowledgeable about the local places. And I said earlier, there are places out there that range in size. There are chains that some of these call centers may know more about, but then there are homes, 6-bed homes. And I say homes, and we're not talking nursing homes, we're talking licensed assisted living in some areas, some states called residential care homes, and they are licensed, and sometimes a smaller place could be a better fit for someone, especially someone with dementia, someone who has transfer problems, someone who wouldn't know to press a button if they need help in their room. So, and based on the numbers I gave you before, again, there are thousands and thousands of locations throughout the country, and it's growing. So how do you find these local placement agencies? You need to talk to people in the industry in your where you live or where your loved one lives. It could be your doctor. It could be a discharge planner, at the hospital. It could be, but ask for a placement agency, because sometimes they'll just provide you a list and saying, here's a list of locations, licensed locations in the area. We can't recommend anybody in particular, but here's the list. You could go ahead and call. Well, when they do that, my suggestion is ask if they know of a company that deals with this, and hopefully they'll know. If not, just keep asking around. Certainly, you could go to my website at seniorcareauthority.com, and let us know the location you're in, and we could put you in touch with a professional in that particular market. All right. So, again, ask around. These are people that will come out, meet with the family, meet with your loved ones, find out what the needs are, understand the geographics, the costs, and I guess play matchmaker. But again, it's not just the location itself, it's knowing the caregivers, knowing their history, and making sure it's the right fit. Because the last thing you want to do is to move mom or dad a couple times. And historically, that's how it's worked. Families would go visit assisted living facilities. I say facilities, trying not to say that, but assisted living locations directly, and do the best they can on making a decision. But they don't have experience with it. I mean, the fact of the matter is a lot of these larger locations, when I say larger, I'm talking 100, 150 beds and more, there are directors of marketing there that, again, mean well, but they have quotas. These are for-profit companies. They're going to tell you that your dad will do just fine here, and provide you with all the benefits and why you should move here. And sometimes you're in a situation where you're vulnerable. You need to make a decision soon. Dad's not doing well at home. You're concerned about safety, and you could be geared to a particular place that may not be the best choice. So get assistance. I think placement agencies are going to become much more well-known. It is so new that there isn't even an association yet of assisted living facilities. So it's not like you could go to some association and find out some that are in your area. As I say, you could go to my website, and certainly we could put you in touch with some. And I think it's being promoted more and more. If your parent or other loved one is getting in-home care from an agency, like we were talking about before, ask them. Say, hey, this is just becoming too expensive for us at home. It's just, doesn't seem like it's going to work for the long run. So do you happen to know any placement agencies? And again, be careful when you do searches online, because some of these companies will actually get your information online and then send it out to a number of assisted living locations in the area, and then you get bombarded with phone calls. So be careful what you're filling out. Read the fine print before you start putting phone numbers and email addresses in there, because it could become, actually even more burdensome for you. So plan. Talk with your parents. I wouldn't expect that they would jump for joy and say, "Yeah, we're open to going." They're gonna probably say, "No, I'm staying home." And I think, and feel free, as I say, you could contact me, which I'll give you my contact information before the end of the show. But I could send you a number of examples. You may know some already of people that that it just doesn't make sense. And don't make promises you can't keep. Your parents might be thinking of, when they think assisted living, they're thinking nursing homes, and that's not what we're talking about here. These are almost like hotels as far as the larger places, and more like bed and breakfasts as far as the smaller places go, that with caregivers that live there. So I think they'll be pleasantly surprised, at least them not thinking it's what was on their mind. Again, if these places haven't started since the 90s, it's not anything that they're familiar with if they're in their 80s and 90s, not anything that they know very well. So I hope that helps. Again, feel free to contact me, Frank, at seniorcareauthority.com. And you could, obviously you could go to our website at theagingboomers.com to listen to a number of the podcasts that we have, other people that we interview, experts in the area. Thanks for taking the time, and be safe out there. You've been listening to The Aging Boomers. I'm your host, Frank Samson. Be safe. Talk to you soon.